The world is warm.
Our cooling has officially been shut off.
Can we cool down our lives without warming up the planet?
I'm so hot.
I'm making an off-grid fridge. It's going to be complicated, possibly amazing,
Moment of truth.
or a huge fail.
Snug as a button.
And I'm gonna cool our bunkie with paint. But this isn't your grandparents' white paint, it's high-tech stuff.
Okay, we've got 53 degrees Celsius. Where's Greg? He's better at the manual labor.
That's actually cool air. Can we really cool our planet with cheap and easy technologies?
No!
This is Shut It Off ASAP.
The world is warming, and that excess heat is causing frequent wildfires, droughts, crop failures, optimized conditions for disease vectors, thermal-induced pollution, the list goes on. Unfortunately, we don't have a choice. We need to keep ourselves cool, and that is a problem.
The cooling industry is responsible for around 10% of carbon emissions, which is around 3 times as much as shipping and aviation combined.
So we have 2 universal, potentially sustainable off-grid cooling experiments we want to try.
So there's been a trend in roofs in particular to think about the color they actually are and to figure out how much light and heat they're actually absorbing. So I decided I'm gonna find the whitest paint I can and paint the entire roof white to see if we can get a big temperature drop inside and ultimately cool ourselves down.
White paint has been used to cool buildings for thousands of years across the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and parts of Africa. People have utilized white materials to reflect the heat of the sun away from their homes. These white structures, although picturesque and quaint in the modern era, serve a practical purpose.
I actually spoke with the creator of the whitest paint ever, which is able to reflect 98% of light, including UV light, that we can't even see. Professor, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today about white paint in particular.
It's my pleasure. We use a few different sort of innovations that we came up in 7 years. It's a long journey. Sunlight has many different wavelengths. Eventually we found that using different particle size will help you. Each particle size can scatter one wavelength. If you use them all together, they reflect all the wavelengths well.
So do you think that there is a long-term practical application with cooling cities and potentially helping against climate change and global warming?
We did an interesting analysis that you just need 1% of the Earth's surface covered with white paint. Then that is enough to cool the Earth down back by 1 degree and restore our climate, hopefully.
That's wild. That's amazing.
Our ice caps naturally reflect incoming solar radiation, which moderates our climate. But as the Earth warms and they melt, the effect is hugely reduced, which warms the Earth further. Painting the top of buildings, roadways, and even cars can make up for this and help fight climate change.
I'm gonna be focusing on cooling our food. I'm gonna be making an off-grid fridge. I'll be putting it underground, under the soil for some geothermal cooling aspects. We're also gonna be having some evaporative cooling aspects, which will be part of this fridge, which is gonna be using Peltier modules, which require electricity, and fans, which will be powered by solar panels in order to create this underground fridge.
I have so many questions.
They'll be answered in the video. Keep going.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
The complexity of my build means I need help from Paul, our master builder. I not only need his power tool skills, but I also need his muscles. My fridge has 3 parts. There are the Peltier modules. They need electricity, so we are powering them using solar panels. The Peltier modules help to take heat away from inside the cooler and disperse it. Our evaporative cooling device cools the outside of the Peltier modules to maximize their efficiency. And lastly, for some geothermal cooling, we're burying the cooler box and evaporative cooling device in the ground to keep it colder and its temperature stable. More about that later.
Oh God, I'm so deep in the hole. Sorry. Okay. So if you're wondering why I'm digging this hole, it's because I'm trying to teach you all how to bury a body. I kid. So we're digging this hole to put the cooler in, and it's actually gonna help it keep cold because the Earth has so much more mass, and so essentially it's a lot harder for the Earth to lose heat. So we're just trying to take advantage of those geological properties in order to keep our cooler cool.
With the temperature above 35 degrees Celsius, sleeping in the bunkie has become unbearable. It's way too hot. So I'm hoping that using a bit of science will help me cool the place down.
It's time to paint. I've got my security harness, we've got our scaffolding, and I've got, my coverage and booties to make sure I don't get any paint all over me. The temperature right now, I'm gonna check it, is at 53 degrees Celsius, so more than halfway to boiling.
Okay, let's explore what makes white paint so special.
So why is it that different colors are better at reflecting light? Whenever you look around you and see something colorful, you're actually seeing the spectrum of visible light that the object is not absorbing. Plants, for example, appear green because they mostly absorb the blue and red spectrum and not green light, which is then bounced off the plant and hits your eye. When something appears white, that actually means that every color is bouncing back to your eye because, like a prism that splits white light into a rainbow, white is actually all of the colors combined. And it's the material or chemical makeup of an object that defines how light will interact with it. For example, our paint contains titanium dioxide in it, which reflects around 80 to 90% of light, ultimately making it appear white. All right. First part is always the scariest. Ooh la la. Okay, that's very white. That's awesome. This is easy. Now I just have to be careful I don't step backwards and die.
The next step in my build is the insulated box for the fridge, and it's something I'm not looking forward to.
First, we have to glue this foam insulation before we build the exterior of our cooler, but it is a separate AsapSCIENCE episode about the physiology of why touching foam insulation literally gives me the heebie-jeebies and scream and salivate and freak out, so.
Styrophobia, the fear of touching or interacting with styrofoam. Actually more common than you think, so quit judging.
I think you should just do it, or I'll do it. I'm strong. Okay. Stop! I hate it, I don't know, please. Okay. I know I seem insane, but I'm not kidding. Oh God, oh God. Oh!
So skilled, so skilled.
You could do this at home with a normal cooler that you just buy from a store, but we've got Paul here.
Good deeper, press, press, press. Okay, good.
Oh. Oh my God. It's like, oh, and I'm getting sued.
Where's Greg? He's better at the manual labor.
Mitch is literally watching paint dry, which is very practical, but not nearly as complex as me trying to make an off-grid fridge. But it shows you how cool it is to just paint roofs white. Like, we can all do that.
It's hot.
We are currently in an awful heat wave, so we want to figure out how to cool our bodies down right now.
If your core body temperature goes above 38.3 degrees Celsius, you not only risk heat stroke, but literally denaturing the proteins in your cells. So, the military has developed a couple techniques to cool yourself down efficiently. One in particular is called the arm immersion cooling system. Because your hands and feet have more surface area on them, you want to focus on those. If you can put your hands up to your elbows in cold water, in particular though 10 degrees Celsius is the optimum, you can cool your core temperature down by 1 degree Celsius.
Does this feel good?
It's beautiful. It's refreshing. It's great.
Okay, you may have heard that having a hot soup on a hot day can cool you down, and this is true, but only under specific circumstances. This all has to do with sweating. You see, the evaporation of water off of your body cools you down. So eating something hot actually causes you to sweat. But it's important that it's a dry day and it's not too humid, and it's important that you also have some skin exposed, and preferably maybe you're in the shade. Also, there's receptors in your mouth, the TRPV1 receptor, which tells your brain, oh my goodness, it's hot, time to sweat. And you can trigger those even with hot sauce. So if you add that to your soup, even to just a cold soup, you can trigger those receptors, cause your body to sweat, and cool you down on a hot day. Warm soup, refreshing. Why does sweating have a cooling effect? The answer is evaporative cooling. Turning a liquid, such as sweat, from its liquid state into a gas requires energy. This energy is taken from our body, or sweat, in the form of heat. The resulting heat transfer leads to the desired cooling effect of sweating. For sweating to ideally cool you down, you need skin exposed to the air that isn't too humid, you need to be hydrated, and a shady, windy spot is ideal. Wind increases the effect of evaporative cooling, which you may have experienced after leaving a swimming pool on a windy day. You'll feel extra cool when wet in the wind. This is because the wind increases the evaporation rate of the liquid water from your skin surface and accelerates the amount that's being converted to vapor, thus cooling your body. Tis absolutely raining, cats and dogs, as they say. I'm very happy that we moved away from the bunkie to do this electrical circuitry. So what we're about to do right now is create a thermoelectric cooling effect.
We're essentially building a fridge, but using a really interesting scientific principle. First step is getting these components onto the box.
This is my favorite part as someone who considers themselves fashionable. It's the glasses. Okay.
I'm cutting holes for these things called Peltier modules, which are made of semiconductors.
Snug as a button! Is that even a thing? The heat sink is gonna be on this side of the Peltier module, and the cooler side is gonna be over here. So because this one's gonna get hot, there's a fan here, but we're also gonna add these 3D printed fans on top. And if you need to know what a Peltier module is, I'll explain it now. It is wild, but it is true that if you run an electrical current through a series of specifically placed semiconductors, you create a temperature difference. Semiconductors are materials that aren't good conductors of electricity, but they also aren't good insulators of electricity either. They are kind of queer and both and in-between vibes, like bismuth.
And if you organize in pairs of opposite semiconductor types, one with an excess of electrons and one with holes electrons want to go into, if you pass an electric current through them, the movement of electrons causes heat to move in one direction, and you end up with a Peltier device that is cold on one side and hot on the other. If we leave the cold side in the fridge and leave the hot side outside of the fridge, then hook up those fans above the hot side, we can pump the heat away. Because the more we can lower the temperature of the outer, hotter side of the Peltier module, the even colder the inside of the fridge will be. I'm putting 2 of these units to double the power.
Imagine doing this in a thunderstorm. The suit was definitely overkill. I haven't dropped a single drop of paint anywhere, except exactly where I wanted it, so I feel like I didn't need this suit.
The suspense is killing me. Let's see if the white paint is doing its job to reflect the heat.
We've painted about 1/3 of our roof now and waited long enough for it to dry. Now we're gonna test the temperature. Earlier we measured this red roof and it was around 50 degrees, but the sun, there's some clouds, it feels like it's cooled down, so I'm gonna check it now and see what our difference is. Okay, we've got 39.4 on the red roof and 30.6 on the white roof. So that's a pretty substantial difference between the two. This is a white paint that is just store-bought, so it's not the whitest paint in the world. Next to a red paint, so not even a black paint, and we're getting a 10 degrees Celsius difference, which is huge. The white paint experiment, it's a perfect example of something where I go, why aren't we doing that? If that's real, why haven't we implemented this on a larger scale?
That reading is incredible. I need to finish this up. I wonder how Greg's fridge experiment is doing.
The Peltier cooler is finished, but we're not stopping there. We're going to make a second device to work alongside it, an evaporative cooler that has some extra help from geothermal cooling.
Nice.
Evaporative cooling works because liquid water molecules are connected to each other via hydrogen bonds. Breaking them to turn liquid to a gas takes energy, so they remove thermal energy from the material they leave behind. By using a sponge, a flow of water to keep the sponge wet, and a fan, the heat that the water vapor is taking with it as it evaporates has a cooling effect on the surface left behind. And you can pump that air towards the heat on the ASAP fridge to help keep our drinks and veggies cool. With the evaporation cooler built, we now bury it.
Yeah, we're there. The geothermal cooling is going to help keep our water cold and not allow it to be heated by the sun by burying it in the ground. Soil is a natural insulator and will absorb heat when it is hot and release heat when the surrounding air begins to cool. If we were able to dig 5 meters deep, the soil temperature would be 9 degrees Celsius year-round, which is a lot cooler than our current 32 degrees Celsius outside. But we aren't gonna actually dig that deep. We are putting the water used for evaporation underground for some geothermal cooling, but mostly it's to hide the water from the sun so the water in our system doesn't heat up. Next stop is making sure this all works and hooking up to the solar panel.
It's been a long day, and I'm proud to say that I finally finished painting the roof.
This experiment has been really fun. I'm so happy I did it. Not only was it enjoyable, it's practical. We got a 10-degree difference between what the roof was and what it is now, and it applies on a mass scale.
Researchers are currently developing new paint molecules and multi-layer technologies that reflect most of the sun's energy away from our roofs, but only some of the spectrum towards our eyes, letting us have the cooling effect of white paint, but in any color.
It not only cools our house, it can cool cities, and it can literally cool the earth. That's pretty cool.
The ASAP cooler is finished. The Peltier modules are hooked up. Our evaporative cooling tube thing is also done. But I did ask Paul to make the cooler look cool. And this is what we got. I'm obsessed. A treasure chest. You're an artiste. I mean, this is not what I expected at all. Oh my goodness. Is that silk? I did not make it look like a treasure chest. That was all Paul. He got a little carried away, I must say. Okay, so now we just got to hook up the electrical to the solar panels, get this in the ground, and then we have to hope.
We have all of the components of the fridge completed. Once the chest is in the ground, it will be insulated from the heat in the air. The evaporation cooling device is connected to the solar panels and ready to help cool the Peltier devices to ensure they're efficiently cooling the inside of the fridge. All that's left is to connect each device and power it up.
It's a moment of truth. In essence, I'm trying to use solar power to create an off-grid fridge, which is a very complicated thing to do. So I am hoping it's gonna work. Screen. Wait. Boom, baby. Ooh, that's satisfying. Yes. To be honest, the most fascinating thing for me about all of this is just a really new, profound understanding of electricity. And we still have to hook up all these wires for our evaporative cooling mechanism. I think we should get the solar panels back into the sun to be charging these batteries, but this is a good sign. Look at this, look how intricate this is. Now what we need to do is add the buried treasure. Arr, shiver me timbers. Ooh, there's a little cool in there already. It's so essential that we figure out these passive ways to cool our food. There is a lot of anxiety though, because I realize how complicated it is and how much work we had to put into it, but the hope is there, just seeing them sort of pay off a little bit. So Mitchell Ryan Moffit, this is your underground solar-powered off-grid fridge.
Wow, it looks very epic. Oh, it's a treasure chest. What is going on?
So the solar panels are what are charging the fans. They're also charging the Peltier modules. This is our evaporative and geothermal cooling unit. So there's actually cool air coming here, which is also helping to cool down the Peltier module's heat sink. Pull it off. I think that this could also be something that we use if we're ever hot. Because there's cool air.
Oh, that's nice.
And this is the temperature readings.
Outside, it's 33.8, almost 34 degrees. Inside, it's 12.7 degrees Celsius. That is like more than 20 degrees cooler in there.
I'm so happy with this. We can definitely put in here our fruits, our veggies, our drinks, our oat milks. A normal fridge is 4 degrees Celsius. Okay. And we don't eat meat. I think meat would be the biggest concern. So yeah, I don't know. Wow. I'm just so happy that we now have this option. So it's not as cool as an actual fridge, but as an off-grid alternative, it's great.
1 in 10 people in the world are affected by food spoilage, and 500,000 people each year die because of it. Refrigeration saves lives. At 4 degrees Celsius, food spoilage is slowed, but food stored in temperatures between 4.5 to 60 degrees Celsius enter the danger zone, where harmful bacteria double their population in as little as 20 minutes.
For me, it was just the understanding of thermoelectric principles and the Peltier effect that really is what this week was about.
Is there stuff in there that we can see?
Yeah, do you want to grab something?
Am I allowed to touch it?
Okay. Ooh, I'm gonna grab a drink.
Ooh, okay, what's this?
Ginger beer.
Ooh, oh my God,
Yeah.
It's literally, there's dew all over it,
Yes.
condensing. I feel really satisfied with our results, and hopefully these kinds of things can be implemented at large. Okay, let's close it so it stays cold.
Let's enjoy.
Okay, good job.
Many scholars agree that cooling our fridges and our homes is the #1 thing we need to fix in order to combat the climate crisis.
But it's estimated that by 2050, there'll be 3 times as many air conditioning units alone because the Earth is getting hotter.
With all this talk of heat waves and fires, the biggest issue for our future is how hot it is gonna get. And this week, I realized just how much energy it takes to keep something, even a small, tiny fridge, cold. So honestly, I just started thinking about my fridge at home, the size of our fridges, and how much electricity that is is using, one thing I tangibly thought of was that we need smaller fridges and need to appreciate what they do.
For me, it was interesting to realize that such a simple thing as painting your roof white could make such a big difference, not only in your own home, but actually on the planet, if even just 1% of the Earth's surface was covered in white paint. And so I think we need to be focused on technologies and innovations that can combat this heating.
So cooling is one of the most important things we need to figure out, how we can cool ourselves and our food without contributing to the climate crisis.
Thanks to our white roof, our cabin's cool. Thanks to our evaporative cooling, I'm absolutely chilling. And thanks to our underground fridge, Gregory, cool drink, please.
Yes, my emperor. What would you like? We got a vodka soda, aka gay water.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds
Okay.
perfect for today.
One gay water for you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm gonna have a ginger beer.
Nice and cool. All right, shall we?
Yes, my king.
Are we actually cracking these?
Yeah, we chillin', boy. We chillin', bro.
Cheers.